Do you have any specific ideas for prison reform in New Mexico, Mr. Apodaca?
Absolutely. In fact, we talked about it earlier today. 37% of the people we incarcerate today are what we call nonviolent criminals. And when you really dig into it, drug addiction, alcoholism, marijuana possession, and 6% behavioral health, mental illness, because we've cut all those programs away. And then we spent $221 million to really, literally create private prisons. In fact, there was an article yesterday about how our private prisons need to grow more. There was an article about 2 weeks ago in the Albuquerque Journal that talked about 18%, in the next 10 years, 18% of male prisoners, the population is going to increase. Over 40% female prisoners. And they talked about how we have to grow our private prisons. What amazed me more about that story was no one talked about hope and opportunities and rehab. And then we spent $221 million. So as your governor, we're going to push legislative approval. And we're going to decriminalize that activity. And we're going to move that money over to rehab and job training opportunities. And it'll be a 2-year program. Folks, when we do that, we're creating fellowships, internships, job opportunities between $40,000 and $75,000 a year. And yes, conservative Texas, conservative Arizona does these programs and literally sees a 75, 78% success rate. Now, more importantly, these programs cost $23 a day versus $100 a day in prison. And it's a vicious circle. So we just believe in a different way. We believe in a new way. We believe in opportunities for New Mexico. And then when you do that, you literally open up time for our DAs and our judges to come down hard on the violent criminals. You kill somebody under an Apodaca administration, 25 to life. You beat somebody, you rape somebody, you're going to spend a long time in prison. Right now, our violent criminals are getting out because the nonviolent criminals, drug addiction is literally clogging down our system. We just need to find a better way to do things.
Congresswoman?
There's no question that if we don't do something about our criminal justice system, not only in the state but in the country, we're going to continue to miss the opportunity to invest in the future of our children. There are some studies that indicate that the current rate of incarceration that we would see in the next couple of decades, that 1 in 3 Americans would have a criminal background, a criminal record. The notion that we're headed in that direction is terrifying. So New Mexico, let's lead in that effort. So we have to do a variety of things. One, we've talked about education. We've got to do a much better job in education. We've got to do a much better job making sure that our young people have training and are doing trade schools and apprenticeships and mentorships. We've got to make sure that we're moving them into jobs. We have to address the real situations of poverty inside our households. That will make a huge difference. But to deal with it on the justice side, we want to do sentencing reform. We want to make sure that we're addressing recidivism. There's a brand new program in Albuquerque. It's a healthcare sponsored program. It's called the Adobe Clinic. And it's amazing because what it does is it takes juvenile offenders, brings them out of the juvenile justice system, treats and supports the entire family, gets everybody into jobs so that you don't have the kind of recidivism so that this young person then ends up in an adult correctional system. So education, prevention, job training, and we should only be incarcerating serious offenders, and we need to invest in the kind of court reforms that we have shown over and over again make a difference, but this governor has starved, like DWI and drug courts, which will allow us to make sure that folks who are not serious offenders, who are getting the treatment and the support that they need in the community, in this way we can start to readdress and support educational investments that will make a difference for New Mexico families for the future.
Senator?
I wonder how many of the candidates running for governor, including Congressman Pierce, have spent time in our prisons in New Mexico. How many have been to Grants? How many have been to Hobbs? How many have gotten in the lunch line at Hobbs and eaten with the inmates? How many have gone to southern New Mexico and talked to the inmates and asked them why they're there and what it's going to take to keep them from coming back? I've done those things, and I know the answers. You know, years ago I was asked to chair a committee to go take a look at the Hobbs prison. We went there, and of course the administration put on a wonderful show. Everybody was happy. They did a step dance for us, literally. We were very impressed, and as they were ushering us out of the general population, I said, hold on a minute. I said, I'd like for you and the administration to leave, and I'd like to talk to these guys. And that's when I found out they weren't getting health care. They weren't getting dental health care. They weren't able to talk to their families. They have video conferencing with their children, where once a week fathers want to talk to their children back home, and they weren't being allowed to do those kind of things. How are we surprised when we have the recidivism rates that we do in our state, when we don't recognize that the success to keeping them out of prison is by rebuilding the relationships between them and our community? Look, in the legislature, I've always supported the right to come out of prison with the right to vote, with the right to participate fully in society. I passed legislation to assure that people are restored to all of their rights and access once they've done their time. And that's the only way we're going to assure that people get that second opportunity. And look, some of the people in this campaign have even criticized some of the people that I have on my campaign because they have criminal backgrounds. They deserve that respect and that opportunity and that second chance, and I'm living that by my own example. Ultimately, we have to get the profit motive out of prisons. We pay people to keep the beds full in our state. We have an industry that profits. I don't take a penny from private prisons. I don't know whether my colleagues here on this table can say that, but I will never take a penny from private prisons because their goal is to make sure their beds stay full. It's the wrong agenda. We need to be compensating them and writing contracts to keep people out of their prisons and making sure they do well when the prisons are vacant.